It's the final day and the final two events at the Brazil CrossFit Championship. The top two men and women will advance to Madison, Wisconsin and the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games. I'm Sean Woodland with Annie Sakamoto as we get set for event number 5 for the individuals. Here's where things stand for the men after 4 events. Agustin Richelme has a 24-point lead as far as first place is concerned, and Gui Malheiros is just 4 points up on Kaique Cerveny for the final qualifying spot. Omar Martinez and Anderon Primo both have an outside shot of getting into the top 2. Event number 5, rowing, handstand walking, and legless rope climbs. The distance and the reps decrease as you go through the event. And the handstand walk here, a little bit different. It's not just done in one contiguous straight line.
Right, these athletes have to set up a 5-meter space, and within that 5-meter space, they have to switch directions every 5 meters. But really, Sean, I think that could be a blessing more than a nuisance to these athletes, considering the 60 muscle-ups they've done, considering the legless rope climbs. Those little breaks might be much needed and appreciated.
It's time for our featured matchup for the men. Joel Gadet and Neil Maddox have the call, and they begin with the box assignments presented by CBD-MD.
Agustin Richelme, top left corner of your screen, is your number 1 seed coming into this Brazilian CrossFit Championship. He is your number 1 leader through 4 events. This is event 5, Neil Maddox and Joel Gadet. Glad to have you along with us. Guilherme Malheiros is in second place. Those are the 2 guys right now clinging on to your CrossFit Games tickets. Omar Martinez, Anderon Primo, Kaique Cerveny are also in the mix, but Neil Maddox, Joao Pedro Barcelos is a guy to keep an eye on. He is tied for 7th place coming into this event 5, and it is a 30-minute time cap, just banger of an event.
Oh yeah, I mean, these guys have to be smart about this 2K row. They can't go out too hot. I'm expecting some of these top athletes are going to probably finish around the 7-minute range on this row. Probably, you'll probably get the high 6-minute. And what we're talking about is just basically the total time it'll take them to finish this 2K row before they go on to that handstand walk.
Omar Martinez, I don't know if that's a message for us on the back of his t-shirt, by the way, as he rows away, top right corner of your screen. Go fly. The event description is at the bottom of your screen. 2,000-meter row, then a 60-meter handstand walk, 5 legless rope climbs. That is 12 lengths of your floor layout. So 60-meter handstand walk broken down into 5-meter increments. And of course, as has been the case all weekend, that red bar at the top of each of these videos, that dictates exactly how far along each of these athletes are.
Oh yeah, I mean, this event is basically just going to be a nice steady grind. It's nothing that you can just go out and attack. So these guys are already pacing it pretty well, and we're only in basically the first part of it.
And there's a couple different ways to attack a row, Neil. You can pull hard and pull less. You can adjust the damper setting so that it is lower, and you can pull more and pull faster. It all depends on exactly the type of rower that you are and how you want to go about this.
Yeah, now if you want to go with the higher damper setting, that's going to tax the back a little bit, and it's going to tax the pull a little bit more. So I doubt I'd want to go with a higher damper setting. Yeah, you could probably cover some meters a little faster, but it's going to fatigue you out. And remember, these guys need to save their upper back because they're getting ready to go upside down and handstand walk, which is going to really activate that upper back. And then when they go to do that legless rope climb, it's still more back. They're going to involve those lats, those the delts, and then of course the mid and upper trap. So these guys got to be smart, and they have to move efficiently so they don't burn out.
We don't have a view of any of the actual damper settings for these athletes, but Neil, where are you putting it if you're doing this?
So typically I usually have my damper at about a 6. I mean, depending on how I feel after the first round, I may adjust it or I may just keep that. I mean, like you were saying earlier, if I go to a lighter damper settings, that's going to get my heart rate up because I can go pull a little bit faster, and I'm basically pulling against less resistance versus if I have my damper setting higher, which is going to give me more resistance.
Of course, 1 to 10 is the damper setting for anybody unfamiliar with the Concept 2 rower. About 5 or 6, right, is rowing on actual water.
Yep.
Is the vibe of that.
Yep. Yep, exactly. So I'm about that. I'm about a 6 typically, and then if I'm feeling I want a little bit more power output, I'm going to go a little higher towards that 9-10ish. And if I'm looking to really just get that heart rate up and go a little bit faster, I'm going to drop it down towards that 2-3ish.
Richelme, top left corner of your screen, second after event 1. He was second in event 2, first in event 3. He was fourth in event 4. So he has not finished, not only outside the top 5, he hasn't finished outside the top 4 so far at this Brazilian CrossFit Championships. Gui Malheiros is in second place. He has 2 event wins. He won event 1, Friendly Fran. He then won event 4. That was the snatch event yesterday. He's got a 8th place finish and a 6th place finish mixed in there. So those are the guys that right now are claiming the top spots and your tickets to the CrossFit Games. Cerveny at the bottom right corner of your screen is actually in 3rd, and that is through a 5th place, 3rd place, 5th place, and 3rd place finish through the first 4 events.
Yeah, all these athletes are a little over 1,000 meters right now, so they're going on the back end of this 2K, so those meters are counting down and they're hammering away. So we're looking for these athletes to possibly hop off with, before, like I said, about that 650, 730 range. So it's going to be just looking right here, looking to see how Omar is pulling, but it's kind of hard to see his screen. So yeah, so if I had a better view of that, I'd have some better information for you guys. But right now, these guys, I'll tell you, they're pulling nice and steady. And
Cerveny came into this only 4 points out of second place. So we said that Richelme and Malheiros are the 2 guys right now that have their hands on those tickets to the games. 380 points, 356 points for Gui Malheiros, and then Cerveny at 352. So when you look at the damage that you can do to your opponents by your success in this event, the difference between first and second is 4 points. Between second and third is 4 points. So one placing right now could get Cerveny into a qualification spot.
yeah, so Brandy's hungry. He looked at that leaderboard and saw what happened day 1, day 2, and he knows he's in that hunt. So he's hungry right now. He's going out and he's fishing for that title.
Anderon Primo, bottom left corner of your screen, came in with all sorts of hype. He was the number 2 seed coming out of the quarterfinals. Right now trying to make up for a 17th place finish in Friendly Fran to begin the Brazilian CrossFit Championships. He did that with a 7th place in event 2, a 3rd place in event 3, but a 9th place in event 4 yesterday. So that still has him a little bit behind the 8 ball, trying to make up some ground here on this event 5.
Yeah, so Primo, I mean, he's sitting in good shape, but he needs to make sure that he places in that top 5 if he wants to be in contention for one of those top game spots.
And a guy that feels that his fitness has really grown a lot over the course of the pandemic. He built himself a home gym and improved his cardio a lot, because when you're in a global pandemic and your gym is closed, what's the easiest thing to do? Go outside and work on your cardio, and then also you can fit a rower inside your home gym. You can sit on that apparatus and just go through the pain of trying to improve. How about 7 minutes and 9 seconds for Cerveny, Neil, to get off that rower for a 2K pull?
Oh man, yeah, that's, like I was saying, right in that time range right there. So he's fresh going upside down. Now it's all about time under tension when you're inverted. You got to be fast on these handstand walks. You cannot take your time. Now, if you want to take a quick breather, that'll be fine, but you got to get through these, because as we saw, or as you guys will see later rounds, if they don't get through these, it's going to really affect those legless rope climbs.
Now, gymnastics is a strength for Kaique Cerveny. Handstand push-ups, though, is a weakness. So this is kind of an intersection of those two things. He seems to have absolutely no trouble with this first batch of 60 meters of handstand walking.
Oh no, I mean he looks very comfortable inverted, and he's just going. The hard part is when you have to kick up and down each and every time, because all of a sudden the blood is going to the top of your head. All of a sudden you kick up, now it's going right back to your heart. You get inverted, it goes back to the top of your head, and then so on. So then after you're doing that, now you have to go legless rope climb where the blood is going to rush to your mid back and arm. So this is a fun one.
Now, legally, you don't actually have to kick down. You could turn around and continue handstand walking. If you're really good on your hands, Neil, is there maybe a benefit to doing that?
You want to know something? I wouldn't do it. So, I mean, I guess if you're really fast and efficient, then I guess you could do it. But if you're not fast and efficient, then, you got to be careful.
Gui Malheiros is in the middle of your screen. Top, you've got Barcelos, bottom of your screen in the middle. And he's the guy that kind of threw his name into the mix after his performance on day 4. Is tied for 7th. Now you need to be in the top 5 to give yourself a last chance online qualifier spot. The top 2 go to the games, 3, 4, 5. Last chance online qualifier. So Joao Pedro Barcelos, just a 20-year-old who is doing the Open for the 2nd time this year. This is where he had troubles, though, back in 2018, because 2018 was the only other time that Barcelos had participated in the Open, and he was 137th worldwide as a teenager. So that gets you into the online qualifier. He was 86th in the online qualifier. Neil, his biggest detriment that year was the wall ball, double under, handstand walk event.
Yeah, as I'm looking and watching his handstand walks, and he's bottom middle right here. And if you look, he's getting a little fatigued right now. And this is the first round, so if you're already bending over and hunching over on the first round, it's going to be a long day. If you look at these other athletes who are going, they're pushing through on that first round. And so right now, this is looking like it might be a little bit of a weakness in his armor.
And maybe he's had some chance to work on it and improve upon it. Certainly it's been a couple of years, but it's one of those things that always in the back of your mind for Barcelos, bottom middle of your screen. Top left of your screen, you kind of get a 2-for-1 here. Agustin Richelme was your leader coming into this event and your number 1 seed coming into the Brazilian CrossFit Championship. Nicolas Bidarche is in 6th place coming into this event, so he's just outside of a last chance online qualifier spot, and Bidarche was certainly a guy to watch. He's actually in the blue pants in that top left box on your screen. He and Richelme are competing at the same location. So Richelme is the guy that we're keeping an eye on and who is rowing right now in your screen. But for fun, if you want to keep tabs on Bidarche, he does have the blue pants on.
Yeah, Richelme has a nice little lead over there, and so I mean it's always good when you have someone to go against, right? Gives you a little bit of push, but then also it can get you to take your foot off the gas, because right now he isn't just competing against a gentleman who's next to him; he's competing against a whole field.
You know, interesting thing to talk about in that video as well, outside of Richelme, as he has gone back to his now 1,000-meter row. Bidarche was just no-repped on one of those legless rope climbs. And Neil, from a strategy standpoint, that is killer. I don't necessarily know. There's a lot of places to put your eyes here. If anybody else had that happen to them on this first round. But if you take a no-rep on those legless rope climbs, it is killer to have to do a whole nother rep in that particular movement.
Oh, you take a no-rep. You're talking about you're losing 30 to 45 seconds. 30 to 45 seconds on a long workout like this. I mean, you'd think you can make it up, but these guys are pretty fit and they're pulling pretty fast, so it's pretty hard to close a gap when you lose that much time.
They're 12 minutes and change into a 30-minute time cap. That's a pretty good chunk. Even if it's a 30-minute time cap, that's still a pretty good chunk of time. Looks like everybody, nope, we're still waiting on Barcelos. Everybody else has made it back to the rower here, and now Barcelos will pop back on the rower. So everybody has moved on to their 1,000-meter row. That will be followed here in round 2 by a 40-meter handstand walk. So that is 8 lengths of the floor. If my math is right on that, right? 40 divided by 5. And then 4 legless rope climbs to follow here on this second round.
Yep, these guys, I mean, the fatigue in the upper back is starting to set in. You're going to have to drive with those legs. Drive with the legs as best you can. Try to reserve that upper back for the handstand walk and for legless rope climbs.
Kaique Cerveny, bottom right corner of your screen, 23 years old, out of Florianopolis in Brazil. That is on the southern coast. 5th in Brazil out of the Open in 2020, trying to really make his name known in the sport of fitness here. Put all of his eggs in this CrossFit basket, actually put college on hold to train full-time. And when he started CrossFit, his quote, Neil, is he had everything not to be a good athlete. The one thing that has saved him is his will. He is a guy that can just will himself to success, and this is one of those types of workouts where it's going to take a little bit of strength of will.
Oh, I mean, you can see the will in his pull. I mean, he has a good drive. Even though we can't really see his screen, you can see he's driving, nice subtle pull with his upper body, saving his upper back. He's actually hopping off right now.
Yeah, so he's done.
Now he's kicking up.
He had to, just to go back to his row, Neil, like, it looked like an efficient pull in that he gave himself a rest. Like, he was really strong on the pull and then had that beat where he was able to take a breath and then go right back into it. And in a workout like this, almost a little bit of recovery while he's pulling to gather his breath again after he's just burned himself out handstand walking and rope climbing.
Where he's separating from the group is not only on his row. Look at how fast he's attacking these handstand walks. He's already done with 4. Now he needs 4 more 5-meter distances to cover in order for him to finish the 40 meters total. But he's not even taking a break. He's staying low. He probably has the blood rushing to his shoulders, but he's trying to get it before his body really realizes, hey, we're a little fatigued. We need to slow down.
And remember, Cerveny doesn't need a lot of help here. All Cerveny needs to do is finish in the top 2 positions, and he could potentially jump into one of the top 2 positions heading into the 6th and final event here. Cerveny is 4 points out of a CrossFit Games qualification spot. The difference between 1st and 2nd is 4 points. So it wouldn't help him a ton if Richelme was right behind him, but it would help him a lot if Malheiros had a little bit of space between Cerveny and the finish.
And right here, as you can see, Malheiros, he's actually on his handstand walk. So he's trying to close the gap right now with what Cerveny is already starting to pull away. But we'll see if they can close that gap.
Gui Malheiros is a bigger athlete, Neil. That help him here in a workout like this?
Not necessarily for the legless rope climbs. It'll help you on the pull on the row, but it's not going to necessarily help you with the legless rope climbs because I'll take a 180-pound well-conditioned athlete any day versus a 200-pound well-conditioned athlete when it's on that rope.
You know what may help Malheiros, though, on the legless rope climbs, and this is just me making some inferences? Guy lives on the beach, and he surfs a lot. So when you think about the muscles that are used, like the amount of time that he spends on his stomach paddling a board out in the ocean, I mean, obviously he's a great athlete. He's got great upper body strength, but like from a traps and shoulders standpoint, he's not going to get worn out in that area a lot because he just spends hours on the ocean using those muscles every day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he has great upper body strength. But if we look at Cerveny, bottom right, he was up and down that rope, finished that, and is back on the rower right now for his last 500 meters.
He is a little bit more than halfway through this time cap. He is not going to need all of the time.
No, I mean, you can tell right now his pace is picking up. He's probably going to pull about probably a 140 to a 150, and that's basically a minute 40, minute 50. He'll finish this 500-meter row.
We're looking at 6 of the 30 athletes in this field at the Brazilian CrossFit Championships. So Cerveny right now is leading these 6 athletes. Where he will finish in the overall standings, we don't know, but he's certainly putting himself in a good position. 5th place in event 1, 3rd in event 2. He did the same thing on day 2. 5th place in event 3, then 3rd place in event 4. This would be a first event win for Kaique Cerveny if that is indeed what winds up happening, if he can continue to push this tempo. Meantime,
yeah, I mean,
Richelme is going to work on the rope.
Yeah, no one else. Well, actually, Malheiros actually just went to the rower, so everyone else is still either doing their handstand walk or rope climbs versus Cerveny and Malheiros.
That's the worst news you could have said, though, Neil, because that's the one guy that Cerveny needs to fall back a little bit, not the one guy he needs to stay with him.
Exactly. Or
he needs somebody else to start catching up to Malheiros.
Right. So we need Richelme to finish up. Actually, Richelme right now is going back to the rower. So we need something to happen between the row and the legless rope climbs for some shuffling to happen.
Those red bars at the top of each of these boxes let you know the progress of each of these athletes, so you can compare them to figure out where they are along the workouts in their respective gyms here. I still keep tracking Bidarche in those blue pants, who is struggling through those handstand walks next to Agustin Richelme, coming in 6th place. He is 1 spot out of a last chance qualifier position. He and Richelme pushing each other, working out together in Argentina. Top left corner of your screen, Richelme is currently your overall leader. He does not have a last chance online qualifier spot. He has a games spot right now in his grasp.
I mean, that's always a nice spot, but remember, when you're the top target, everybody's looking to take down that top target. So he has a target on his back, and he has to keep his pedal to the metal in order for him to close it out and get that overall top spot for the games.
Well, just 3 legless rope climbs left for Kaique Cerveny, bottom right corner of your screen. So regardless of Richelme's positioning so far, Cerveny is just motoring through, looking for that first event victory of this Brazilian CrossFit Championship. Talk about the progress red bar. There's not a whole lot of room left, so this is the end of it for Cerveny.
Oh, yeah, he's just up and down that rope. Wow.
So Kaique Cerveny done here in event number 5 at 19 minutes and 27 seconds. He had 10 minutes and 33 seconds left to play with.
I mean, he attacked it. I mean, if you look at how fast and efficient he was on those handstand walks, he was smooth on the rower, fast on the handstand walks, and he was just up and down that rope climb. And that's the thing. He conserved energy by having less time under tension.
Malheiros now continues on his handstand walking. These are 5-meter segments, and Richelme now is onto his handstand walking. 5-meter segments, so you need to go back and forth 4 times here, or back and forth twice, until you can move on to the legless rope climbs, which Malheiros has now done. So just a couple of reps left for Gui Malheiros. That's terrible news for Kaique Cerveny. Congratulations on your first place win amongst these athletes we're looking at, but the guy you're chasing down is right on your heels.
Yep.
We have flipped roles. So Malheiros, with the completion of this 15-meter rope climb, 15-foot rope climb, is done in 20 minutes and 41 seconds. Gui Malheiros.
Impressive. So we're just hoping that that's enough distance of time, and that some other athletes in other times, other heats, can actually, break in and create some distance.
Yeah, fitting the puzzle pieces together will be interesting. See if Cerveny earns the 100 points, or if other athletes that we're not looking at maybe finished ahead of Kaique Cerveny. As it stands right now, if you're just looking at your screen, he picked up 4 points. So he has tied himself with Gui Malheiros, but we don't know how the rest of the puzzle has come together. Richelme is on the rope climbs, top left corner of your screen. Anderon Primo continues to just be an interesting story because of the hype that was around him coming into this. Bottom left corner of your screen, he was the number 2 seed at the beginning of the Brazilian CrossFit Championship. A regionals athlete in 16 and 17 and 18, 5 times a Brazilian CrossFit champion. But Primo right now, not the performance I think he would have wanted from himself. The good news is he will, with his current positioning, make his way into the last chance qualifier and take another shot.
I think he's going to be working on handstand push-ups. I have a figure that he's going to be adding those into his program moving forward.
Richelme is done 22:03. Primo finishing up on this handstand walking. He'll then have the legless rope climbs where Omar Martinez is in the top right corner of your screen. The Venezuelan champion in 2019. He went to the CrossFit Games that year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, this is where Primo, bottom left, has to get on that rope. He has to. He has to close a gap, hurry up, get that chalk on the hands, get up that rope.
In precious seconds. He's catching his breath, but everyone else is going to work as Barcelos is taking his time to get off the rower. You see Martinez on the rope and now gathering his breath. Omar Martinez is a guy that, Neil, we talked about previously. He got into CrossFit, couldn't do a single pull-up. He is about to pull himself up a rope 15 feet.
He can do a pull-up now.
Martinez flailing up. And Martinez is done in 23 minutes and 10 seconds. So he is fourth amongst the athletes that we're looking at here. Waiting for Anderon Primo and Joao Pedro Barcelos.
Yeah, so Primo, bottom left, has a little long kip on his legless rope climbs, and that right there is a little draining on the grip, because when you start swinging, when you start doing that extensive swinging with the hips, it'll help you get up the rope, but it's going to be really taxing on your grip. That's why you can see him right now walking around, and he's just trying to save that last amount of energy so he can get up that rope.
And that's smart. Yeah, like it does take time, right, Neil? But also he doesn't want to miss a rep, so he's gathering his energy to say, if I'm going to go, I'm going to make it good.
Yeah, you can't afford a no rep here. You get a no rep, that's just one, mentally taxing, but two, it's just going to knock you back some places.
So Primo, with a touch here at the top of the rope, is done in 24:07. He is still in position for a spot in the Last Chance Online qualifier, and he told us this week that event 6 was his favorite when he looked at what was ahead of him. So that is what still remains ahead of him, and a chance to solidify his spot, but teetering Anderon Primo. Joao Pedro Barcelos trying to finish off on these rope climbs here. Remember, he began this event in a tie for 7th place. He's trying to hunt down Anderon Primo, trying to hunt down Omar Martinez, trying to earn his spot in that Last Chance Online qualifier. And Barcelos right now, with plenty of time left in the workout, is not going to need all of that time, but he certainly isn't going to gain ground on the people that he needed to. So swinging his body up, he finishes in 24 minutes and 53 seconds, and that is event 5 at the Brazilian CrossFit Championship on the men's side.
After a crucial mistake in event 4, Kaique Cerveny came into the final day just 4 points back of a qualifying spot. He would set the tone right out of the gate, rowing his Brazilian bundo off, finishing the 2K right around the 7-minute mark, and then finishes his set of 5 legless rope climbs in just 55 seconds. His total working time for all 12 legless rope climbs was only 2 minutes and 25 seconds, which would give him the win and the fastest time we've seen in this event this weekend from any athlete.
Cerveny goes sub-20, 19:27 to pick up the event win. Gui Malheiros will finish in 2nd, and your overall leader, Agustin Richelme, coming into the event, takes 4th with Lucas De Rosa in 3rd place. Overall standings, Richelme now leads Gui Malheiros by 16 points, but Malheiros and Cerveny in a tie with 452 points. It will come down to the final event for those two, and Fabio Broco spoke with Kaique Cerveny.
Bem-vindo, Kaique Cerveny.
Muito obrigado.
Vocês mudaram as estratégias? Como é que ficou a prova 5 para você no dia de hoje?
Prova 5, vamos lá. O Broco, a gente já sabia, só dar uma rapidinho, sabia que essa competição não seria nada fácil, né? Seria muito grudado, porque todos os atletas são muito bem preparados e tudo mais, né? Então, assim, ontem quando eu recebi o leaderboard, é bom e ruim, né? Quando a gente está atrás, a gente fica com o maçarico aceso ali para querer buscar. Então, vamos lá. A prova 5 é uma prova muito boa para mim. Foi uma prova muito boa para mim. E eu já sabia que eu teria que dar o máximo para ganhar essa prova. São 3 movimentos que eu domino muito bem. Fui muito bem nela. Acredito, né? Ainda, mesmo não sabendo, saindo do leaderboard, acho que eu fiz um bom tempo. Um tempo bom para ganhar.
Cerveny and Malheiros now tied for 2nd place overall. And they really took 2 different paths to get to the same spot.
Yeah, after winning event 1, Guy, I guess, decided to take his foot off the gas because he went 7th and 6th place on events 2 and 3. He must have refocused because then he had a 1st place finish on event 4 and a 2nd place finish on event 5. Kaique has taken a very different route to the same spot. He's been much more consistent. He's had all top 5 finishes thus far, winning that event 5. So these gentlemen find themselves in the same spot, got there very differently, and we've got a race to the finish on this final sprint event.
To the women's side of things, after 4 events, this is where we stood coming into the final day of competition, and it's really a battle between Lari Cunha and Sasha Nievas. The two of them tied atop the overall leaderboard at 364 points. Victoria Campos is 50 points back, still has an outside shot, and then Julia Kato and Luiza Dias, trying to hang on to the final tickets to that last chance online qualifier. Time for our featured matchup for the women. Joel Gadet and Neil Maddox have the call, and they start with the box assignments presented by CBDMD.
These are the top 6 competitors here at the Brazilian CrossFit Championships. This is the 3rd and final day of competition for the South American semifinal. Larissa Cunha is on the top left corner of your screen. She is the overall leader. Actually, she and Sasha Nievas, they are tied right now atop the leaderboard. 364 points. Then Victoria Campos, Julia Kato, Luiza Dias, and the Brazilian Amanda Fusuma is in the bottom right. This is event number 5. It is 3 rounds, 4-time, decreasing reps as you go, starting with a 2,000-meter row, then a 60-meter handstand walk, and 5 legless rope climbs. You can see at the bottom of your screen that drops to 1,000, 40, and 4, and then 500, 20, and 3. You can track the progress of our athletes here with the red progress bar on the top of each of their boxes. And Neil, you kind of just settle in from the start here, don't you? A 2,000-meter row. You cannot win it here, but as we always say, you can definitely lose it.
Oh, yes. I mean, you're not going to be going out too hot. However, you want to keep a consistent pace. So I'm thinking these ladies are going to be looking probably at about that 8-minute range, probably 7:30, 8:30 range, in which they'll probably hop off that rower and then get into that handstand walk.
We're about the time in the competition where placement really starts to matter. Not that it didn't on Friday and Saturday, but you start to leaderboard a little bit more with just 2 events left. So with 2 spots to the CrossFit Games, the situation we led off with is a tie for first. Larissa Cunha and Sasha Nievas, each with 364 points. Victoria Campos is 50 points back of them. That is a difference on the leaderboard of first place to 14th place. That's the gap that she needs to be able to make up the ground necessary on Cunha and Nievas to creep her way in to Games qualification status. So, Neil, there's a ton on the line here. Does that add pressure to these athletes on these final 2 events to know this is what I have to do to accomplish my goal?
Well, it will add pressure if you're unprepared. And what I mean by that, if you didn't do all your homework and do all the work in the gym prior to. If you did all your homework and all the work and you're prepared, then you're going to be able to take on this task and rise to the top. You know, this battle right now, going into this day 3 in a tied position, is just a prime position to see who's going to want to take that dominating spot.
Amanda Fusuma is the other person to watch as far as creeping your way up the leaderboard, because the top 2 go to the CrossFit Games, and then there are 3 additional spots awarded out of the Brazilian CrossFit Championships to the last chance online qualifier in a couple of weeks. And Fusuma right now is 17 points back of Luiza Dias, who is trying to hold off her fellow Brazilian. So that is the race between those 2 for that 5th place in that final spot in the last chance online qualifier. We are 2.5 minutes into this 2,000-meter row, and then 60 meters of a handstand walk that is in 5-meter increments. You actually don't have to kick down after that. If you were really proficient and you wanted to make up some time, you could just turn around and keep walking, but we will cross that bridge when we get to it. And then the legless rope climbs. Neil, it's a lot of pulling, it's a lot of shoulder work. Is that what concerns you most when you look at this from a 60,000-foot view?
I mean, when we're talking about 2,000-meter row, then into that handstand walk, that's just upper back. I mean, that the mid trap is just going to be activated, and then you're going into a legless rope climb, which is more upper back. And so on this, you'd think, you know, maybe my arms are going to be, you know, probably the fatiguing factor, but don't be surprised if a lot of these athletes start fatiguing in their lats and their upper back.
If you're Luiza Dias right now, do you row a little bit differently with the cameraman directly in your face? That's the does the Hollywood spotlight give you a little bit of a push?
you know, sometimes when you have that camera right in your face, you know, it gives you that little extra motivation to, you know, drive a little bit harder and pull a little bit more on that rower. But at the same time, these athletes are just settling in. They're feeling a nice, smooth pace so they can go right into that handstand walk, because they know this first round isn't really you can either win it on the first round, or you could really, really lose it on the second round. And what I mean by that is just putting yourself in position to strike at the end for that, you know, top time.
We don't know exactly where these athletes are on this first 2K row. We can take a guess, ballpark figure, they are well into that second 1,000. As Neil said off the top, you know, 7:30 to 8 minutes total for this 2K.
Yeah, give or take, you could probably add about 30 seconds. It just depends on how, you know, how conservative some people want to be, because remember, it comes down to what's your strength and what's your weakness. Now, if my strength is rowing and I know my weakness is probably handstand walking, I may push the pace a little bit on that row because I know that's my strength, and then, you know, on the handstand walk, be a little conservative. So you got to pick and choose where you're going to go, especially with these athletes not really having anyone else to push off of. They're going by themselves. Well, from what we're seeing right now, it's all about just finding your inner rhythm and really challenging yourself to the fullest, because if you do that, you're going to, you know, sit on top and be going to the CrossFit Games.
It's interesting from the battles we've talked about already. You know, Cunha, Nieves, they are the top two right now. They hold on to those games tickets, 50 points up on Victoria Campos, which is a fairly sizable lead at this point in the competition. But there's also some money at stake here. There's a $1,000 difference between first and second place. Cunha and Nieves are tied. And the one thing Larissa told us, Neil, this week, her strength is in gymnastics. Her weakness is in endurance workouts. So this is an opportunity if you're Sasha Nievas. How much you know about your competition is one thing, but even if you don't know about it, that's an opportunity for Nieves. Hey, see if I can gain some ground. See if I can jump into that first place spot.
Well, you know, when I'm looking at this, I mean, Sasha, she's the one, if you get me correctly, she's the one who's has a little bit of gymnastics experience and weightlifting experience, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so when we take an athlete like that, that's telling me you have a little bit more of a fast twitch, strong, powerful athlete. And then if we look at, you know, Larissa, on the other hand, she has a little bit of a gymnastics background, but is basically an all-around athlete, right?
Yep.
So if we look at that, I'm wanting to lean more towards like thinking that Larissa might in this workout might edge out. And the only reason why I say that is because I was that weightlifter guy. And, you know, and when it came to aerobic capacity events, you know, I could hold my own, but yet, you know, sometimes it just got a little bit of the best of me. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, 100%. It all comes down to how much you can dig down deep and push inside when the chips are on the table when you get into a competition in a setting like this.
Yes, and the good thing about the rower, I mean, if you're a little bit of a bigger, heavier athlete, it works in your favor versus if you're out on the run. I mean, especially with a rower, you can just throw that weight right behind that pull, and it can actually help assist you with counting down those meters a little faster.
We are getting into the ballpark now of someone about to get off this rower. It'll be an interesting moment. They will have no idea, but for us to see who jumps off the rower first and starts with the handstand walk. And we do have a hand in the air for Sasha Nievas, so she is coming down the backstretch here. And again, there's no one else around here, but we do appreciate the judges letting us at home know exactly where she is in terms of her progress.
Yeah, you know, and so, you know, like I was saying, she's going to come in around that 7:30, 8-minute range. Some of them are going to push probably around that 8:30. We just look at Julia right there, bottom left screen.
Yeah, wow.
She just hopped off that rower.
Yeah, Julia Kato, her first year in the Open, has already made it this far in the competition into the semifinal stage. And Neil wasting no time. She got off the rower and popped right up into a handstand.
The biggest thing is what I'm looking at time under tension. You've got to get across that floor. If you're wobbly on your handstand walks, it's going to kill your upper back. You've got to get across that floor.
Sasha Nievas giving us a little bit of a different camera look here as she closes in on the end of her 2,000-meter row, and will pop off the rower. She is the third to the handstand walks. Victoria Campos got there as well. Neil, Julia Kato, though, is an interesting person to watch on an event like this because we talked about the athletic backgrounds of Cunha and Nieves being a weightlifter. Julia Kato spent 5 years as a professional swimmer. her initial goal was to go to the Olympics as a swimmer. She looks at, the CrossFit Games as the Olympics of this sport, and that's where her focus is now. But as a swimmer, you talk about endurance workouts and you talk about shoulders and upper back. This seems like it would be in her wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of, if I think about it, it reminds me of China Cho. She is a swimmer. She has a swimming background, went to San Jose State, swam there. And, when I think about that, China has great pulling ability, great upper body strength. Same thing. If we're looking right over here, I mean, this athlete is showing exactly that. Great upper body strength and is able to tackle these handstand walks pretty easily.
Luiza Dias is the last one to the handstand walks as Julia Kato continues to just motor through these handstand walks. Neil, what's interesting with the red progress bar at the top of each of these boxes, we think about this and you say, all right, everyone is still in the first round. No one has even gotten to the legless rope climbs yet. But then you check that red progress bar and it's almost a reminder the descending rep scheme of an event like this. Even though you are almost 10 minutes into this event and you've done so much work, you've done a lot of work. So you've done the bulk of your reps early on here. Not that it gets easier, but the volume gets less as you go forward.
Yep. I really like top left Larissa. I mean, she's tackling these handstand walks. Just look at her speed. She was one of the slower people to get off the rower, but if you look at how quick she's getting across that floor, and she's turning, taking a quick breath, kicking right back up and going. And if you look at some of the other competitors right now, you'll notice they've just slowed their pace down. So that's something to watch right there. And I'm curious to see if that's going to pay off, how she just slowed down a row, basically a minute slower than most of the other competitors.
We have passed 10.5 minutes here, still working through the first round, the first two movements of this round. See who makes it onto the 5 legless rope climbs first. It's a 60-meter handstand walk in 5-meter increments, actually, you don't have to kick down. We talked about that earlier. If you wanted to, and if you're proficient enough, and we'll talk about the smartness of the strategy, you could just turn and keep walking. But you do have to break these up into these 5-meter, 12 5-meter lengths.
Yeah, you know what? When you kick down, stand up, kick down, stand up, think about the blood that rushes to your head. Oh, if we look here, top left, Larissa is already on the legless rope climbs.
And that's the first one for her, 15 feet off the ground. That's how high you need to touch. There is no requirement on the drop down as far as at what point you need to reach before dropping off of the rope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still impressed. She started way back of the pack and just somehow just creeped all the way up to the top. And it was a smooth, fast handstand walks that propelled her to that position.
Campos is now onto the rope. Sasha Nievas as well. Neil, how do you break these up? We saw Cunha get to the rope, got 1 rep under her belt, and now has done a second, but is taking pretty substantial breaks. This is a taxing movement. If you fail, it is deadly. So pretty smart to take that time here, right?
Well, you're just coming from handstand walks, which is going to tax your upper back. Now you're getting ready to pull. So your arms are going to be roughly somewhat fresh, but your shoulders and your upper mid back are going to be on fire. And so whoever has trained and has built that stamina in that upper back is going to come out on top on this. So they got to really keep attacking these legless rope climbs, but yet listen to their body so they don't have any no reps. You cannot afford that on this.
Sasha Nievas and Luiza Dias climbing in unison, unbeknownst to them here. Middle of your screen, top and bottom. Closing in on the end of the first round here. I think that's 3 for Cunha, top left.
Yeah, I think she just needs a couple more, or maybe 1 more, maybe 1 or 2 more, and then she'll be able to get back on to that 1,000-meter row.
Cunha and Nieves are tied atop the leaderboard coming into this event. 364 points for each of them. Victoria Campos is 1 spot out of a games ticket at the moment. She is 50 points behind. And again, the difference of 50 points at its maximal here would be if Victoria Campos were to win this event, she would need Cunha and Nieves to finish 14th for her to be able to make up all of that ground right here. Now, she does have another event still today, but that is the challenge that she's staring down. And then Amanda Fusuma, who is in 6th place, she is 17 points back of Luiza Dias. That is for a ticket into the Last Chance online qualifier.
Yeah, Victoria Campos came out. I watched her last rope climb. She actually did a running start for her legless rope climb and jumped right up and just up right down that rope right onto her rower. So she actually got out to a substantial lead right in front of Larissa, top left.
It's Campos and Cunha, the only two that are rowing right now.
Yeah, let's see if she could close the gap. I'm curious. Well, not curious. I just want to see what their split is on this next one. So if you're thinking about a 1,000-meter row, you're thinking about probably conservative is going to be about 4 minutes. I mean, if you're really backing off, you're looking at about a 4:30 pace.
When did they hop on? About 13:30-ish, Neil, start that second round here?
Yeah, roughly about there, roughly.
So we're looking for these athletes to get off of the rower about 17 and a half minute mark. Finish what is a 1K row, and then 8 lengths in handstand walking, 40 meters. Followed by the 4 legless rope climbs as Diaz continues to go to work, bottom middle of your screen. Sasha Nievas taking an extended break, top middle of your screen.
Yeah, once that upper back, once you lose that upper back and you lose your pulling strength, you're going to have to take a little bit of a break, because if you don't, you're just going to get no rep after no rep, and those no reps will add up, and before you know it, you're out of the running.
And Neil, it's devastating in this particular event because there's nowhere to hide from an upper body standpoint. Like, your time to rest your upper body, I think, is on the rower, relatively speaking, because you can use your legs, but like that doesn't sound fun.
No, I mean, if I was thinking about that, I mean, just looking at how my upper back would feel, I'd really lead with my legs on the rower. And then once my upper body felt like it loosened up a little bit, then I'd start pulling a little bit more with my upper body. But I'd have a hard drive out of the pocket just so I can just get that flywheel spinning in that concept 2, so I can get some meters knocked down.
And Sasha Nievas, as much as she may have been hurting at the end of those 5 legless rope climbs, she popped right back on that rower. And now we have 5 of the 6 athletes we're looking at here. These are 6 of the 30 competing at the Brazilian CrossFit Championship. 5 of these 6 athletes have already hopped back on the rower here on round 2, this 1K row. And then again, it was Cunha and Campos the first back to that Concept 2 rower, and they did it around the 13:30 mark. So we expect to see them get off the rower in about a minute to 90 seconds and see who indeed jumps off first.
Yeah, Amanda just finished up, bottom right, just finished up her last legless rope climb, and she really was pulling with those arms. So right now, I want to see, I'm looking to see how she's going to pull with that, and if she's going to use a lot of upper body, or if she's going to get that leg drive. And right now, it looks like she's really digging deep and driving with those legs, and so she's recovering pretty well.
Amanda Fusuma, who's only been doing CrossFit since 2017, so still a newbie in the scope of all of this, found CrossFit because, Neil, she hates the gym. So what better thing to do than go find something like this so you're not just sitting there doing 8 sets of 10 every day.
I know, right? Constantly varied functional movement performed at a high intensity. I mean, that's exactly what you're going to get a heavy dose of this weekend.
High intensity at a high level.
Yeah,
find yourself
very
competing
high
at a
level.
semifinal mark.
Very high level, yes.
All right, so we are past the 17-minute mark. The 2 young ladies, top left and top right, have been rowing for almost 3 minutes here. Almost 4 minutes here, and Victoria Campos is off. So, Neil, she did it in about 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's a pretty nice pace, especially coming out, going out after the 5 legless rope climbs and the 2,000-meter row and all that handstand walking. So she's doing pretty well, and she's moving pretty smoothly, and it doesn't look like she's getting phased at all.
And now each of these lengths of the handstand distance, the 5 meters, that counts as a rep. So Campos is 2 reps ahead of Lari Cunha at this moment. And again, she's 50 points behind, trying to move her way into, not contention, she is in contention, into a claim spot for a games ticket. Everything counts. She doesn't have to do it all here. She wants to make up a chunk of it, but certainly she still has event 6. So as much space as possible that Victoria Campos can put between her and either Cunha or Nievas, and she's going to put some space between her and Nievas, that is huge here on this 5th and penultimate event.
Yeah, Victoria cannot back down. She has to fight for this, to get positioned, to get in that striking range, to take one of those top spots. I mean, she's right there, and she has to keep her foot on the pedal. And right now, she's doing that. She's kicking down, and she's moving really fast through those handstand walks, which is giving her the least amount of time under tension on those shoulders, which will save her for those legless rope climbs.
And we'll say the one thing about Victoria Campos is she is a liar, because she told us that she is weaker in longer endurance workouts. And Neil, I would present this as evidence in opposition to that statement.
I mean, she's doing pretty well. I mean, she's making it look pretty easy right now. I'd be a little bit, I'd be forward on my back trying to say, what, I have to row again?
She's been doing mayhem programming the last year. So that's actually one of the things that's maybe helped her here as well. She's done a ton of gymnastics. So the endurance part isn't going to be your favorite here, but this is kind of wheelhouse for the way she's been training. So it's a little mix and match.
Oh yeah, big time, big time. Yeah, this is like a wheelhouse workout. So this should be something, well, obviously you can see how easily she's going through this. And I know it's pretty much staple in some of those programs that you see in the CrossFit.
In the meantime, as Victoria Campos gets a running start, Lari Cunha just like over off in her corner on the top left just decided to cruise back up ahead. She is a rope climb ahead of Victoria Campos now, so she has caught and chased down the current leader of these 6 athletes, Sasha Nievas, now onto the handstand walking.
Yeah, if you look at Victoria, she has a running start when she gets into it. She goes right into it, runs, jumps, gets a nice high jump. She pulls as quick as she can, and while she's pumping her legs to get that upward momentum, and then she slides right down when she touches. So,
and that is allowed. Like you are allowed to get the running start. Neil, why wouldn't you do that?
I know. Well, what it reminds me of, if you remember a few years ago, regionals, well, quite a few years ago, regionals had that legless rope climb workout where you had to sprint back, move the marker, sprint all the way down, do a legless rope climb, sprint back. And so that's what this is reminding me of right here, is when she runs up, she's doing that little sprint move, jumping, and just doing that climb.
It's 4 legless rope climbs here on this round, and then you get to the third and final round of this event. We are 9 minutes left, 30-minute time cap here. And Victoria Campos is just trying to hype herself up before she gets another Lambo leap here to a legless rope climb.
Oh man, that was a great Lambo leap. She just scored right there.
Well, and it's a big deal because you're saving yourself pulls. Like if you can get another 3-4 feet up on the rope with a jump like that, you're gonna save your arms. And Campos has now passed Lari Cunha back. She is the first one to the rower at 21:17. Neil, you're just gonna black out on this 500-meter row. You pull like there's no tomorrow.
Well, right now, this is where you have to close it out. So I'm going to be mindful of where my heart rate is and how my body feels, but I know I have to close the gap, and I know other people are going to be sprinting towards the end. So I'm going to be a little conservative on the 500-meter row. So I'm pretty sure she'll probably row maybe a 150 or probably about a 210, in between that range. And then she's going to get up, and where this workout's won, it's won on how fast do you want to kick up and down those handstand walks, and you've got to get up and down that rope. Whoever can string together those legless rope climbs is going to close it out.
8 minutes remaining here in the event. Cunha has now made her way back to the rower. It is just those 2 athletes. Dias is on the rope climbs. Nieves is now on the rope climbs as well. Kato and Fusuma continue with their handstand walking here on the second round.
Yeah, so right now Victoria, top right, has been on that rower a little over a minute. So she should be getting off that rower probably, I'd say, in the next 45, probably 30, well no, probably about 45 seconds.
Of course, if you've ever used a Concept 2 rower before and you're rowing for meters, it will tell you your pace per 500 meters. So this is the idiot-proof round, you would say, Neil, where it's going to tell you exactly how long you're going to be on the rower for how you are pulling.
Exactly. I mean, it's going to tell you what your average is right away. So, I mean, depending on how their upper back and their biceps feel and their legs feel is going to dictate how fast they're going to get through these rows.
It looks like Lari Cunha is a little bit more of an upper body pull here, Neil. Victoria Campos using the legs. It's a slower pull, but maybe a little bit more powerful push.
Yeah, just about. Right now, Victoria's finishing up, so she's at about a 2-minute pace right there. 2-minute flat she got on that last row.
Cunha's just smooth as Campos pops back up on her hands.
Yeah,
This is 4 lengths of the floor she'll need.
Yeah, this is where this workout's going to be won right here. She got to turn around, get right back up. She's going to take a quick breath, right back up, and she has to go really fast upside down. So she has to move those hands, because the longer she spins upside down, the more fatigue is going to set in for those legless rope climbs.
I don't think we've seen somebody fail a 5-meter segment at this point. This has been a really proficient group. Not that you would expect that, Neil, at this level, but with the fatigue of this type of a workout and this type of an event, we haven't necessarily seen the struggle you might expect at this juncture from any of these ladies.
Well, a lot of them, you could tell, have a gymnastic background, and they're pretty smooth and efficient. And if you're at this level, you should be able to handstand walk with the best of them. So if you're competing here, we're getting the top one, we're getting ready to close it out and eventually almost punch their ticket to the game. But we have, of course, one more event. But I mean, when you're at that level, you should be able to tackle these handstand walks with ease.
30-second difference thereabout between Campos and Cunha from when they each got off of the rowers. Sasha Nievas is the third right behind him. Sorry, Neil, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you look at Victoria, she's stepping back, she's going chalk up, and then she gets that running start and gets right into it. So whoever could close out those legless rope climbs is going to get that top time. So she's getting ready to go right here. You see that nice jump into that rope? Yep, she carries her momentum. She starts pumping her legs to get that upward momentum, touches. All she needs is one more rope climb and she's going to close it out.
That was 9 pulls for Victoria Campos, and they got smaller as she worked her way up the rope. She took some pretty big chunks out once she jumped up on top of it. It's tough to see with Cunha off in the distance how quickly and efficiently she's moving up that rope. Again, gap is the thing you're concerned about here. Campos can win, but it's how much space between her and Cunha she can create, and then how many other women can fill that void. So Campos is done at 25:39. Cunha, though, is right on her heels. That does Campos no favors. Now, she can catch Sasha Nievas still. Doesn't need to beat both of those ladies. She just needs to pull ahead of one of them.
Yeah, Sasha Nievas is getting up that rope pretty easily right there. She's using a low extended leg kip right there to get that swing up the rope, but she got up the rope pretty easily.
And Nieves now on to her third and final round. She pops over to a 500-meter row with about 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. That'll give her about a minute and a half, a little bit more than that, to get in 3 legless rope climbs. So this is one of those things where if you're Sasha Nievas, you're looking at the clock and you're trying to figure out in your mind, how hard do I have to go, Neil, to make sure I finish under the cap?
Well, you're going to have to push the pace right here because every rep counts. And especially if you get time capped and you can't finish this workout, that's some different placings that you're going to lose. And you're trying to keep that top spot. And right now, Victoria did herself justice by really pushing the pace and getting what I would consider one of the top scores, if not the top score.
Yeah, 27 minutes for Cunha. So that is a minute and 21 seconds. That is the difference, and it will be very curious for us to take a look at the leaderboard when this is all said and done and see how many people that we're not looking at right now that can slide in that minute and a half between Campos and Cunha, and then Nieves as well. Neil, this will become critical once she gets off the rower, how many handstand walk lengths she can get in. Each of those 5 meter lengths of the floor, that is 1 rep. So however many of those she can get, how many of her legless rope climbs she can get, that is putting space that she needs to keep herself near the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, every single athlete, whatever athlete, whoever places higher than she does right now, and if you get any athletes already finishing up prior to when she finishes, it's going to knock her back some points and maybe give Victoria a little bit of an edge to creep on Sasha.
The points table is a difference of 4 at the higher end, so first place gets 100, 96, 92, 88, 84, 80. That's the top 6 points.
Yep, and that's the biggest thing, is that you want that distance, and she is right now, she's on that rower. So there's some other athletes, if we look, Luiza and Julia down there, that are a little bit ahead. So that's placings that are getting taken away from Sasha.
Yeah, big time. You know, Luiza already on the legless rope climbs here, so that's 4 reps she has on Sasha Nievas minimally.
I mean, if you look at Sunday is closeout day. You cannot have any falters. You cannot show any weakness. You got to get up and you got to compete.
About 1 minute and 10 seconds left before the time cap. Fusuma is furiously trying to get herself off of that rower. Dias is trying to finish under the cap and fighting fatigue and fighting failure, and now just trying to hang on. Able to crimp with those feet once she hit the 15-meter mark, and Luiza Dias taking a break and a breather here, trying to shake those arms out with inside 1 minute to go. Kato climbing to the top of the 15 meters, bottom left of your screen. Fusuma now is onto the handstand walk. It's only 4 lengths of that 5-meter floor, so if you can get right back up on your hands, try to get yourself to the rope here. Nievas is gassed, so too is Dias, both of them in the middle of your screen.
Yeah, you just got to get up and you got to dig deep. You just got to go to that dark place.
This is one of those things, Neil, where you've got 20 seconds left in this event. You got to store it all up and say all or nothing here. Let's go get it. Look at the way that Dias attacks that rope climb. With 9 seconds remaining, 5 now in the event. Luiza Dias is done. 29:54. She timed that beautifully. Nievas is capped at 69 reps. Kato as well. Fusuma at 68. Campos with the win.
Victoria Campos started the day 1 spot back from qualifying, but staring at a 50-point deficit to Sasha Nievas. While her chances got a gigantic shot in the arm thanks to the same upper body pulling strength Campos showed when she won Event 3. Campos utilized a long run up to the rope and a big vertical jump to avoid failure on the rope climbs and easily take home her 3rd event win of the weekend and pick up a much needed 28 points on Nievas, who got time capped.
That event could not have gone better for Victoria Campos. 100 points, as you heard Tommy say, picks up a sizable amount of points on Sasha Nievas, who finishes tied for 8th after getting time capped. Smooth sailing for Lari Cunha, as she takes 2nd place in the event with a time of 27 minutes. Overall standings now with 1 event remaining. Lari Cunha all by herself on top of the overall leaderboard. Sasha Nievas remains in 2nd place, but now only 22 points up on Victoria Campos. Luiza Dias is in 4th. She has one of the tickets to the last chance qualifier right now, and she spoke with Fabio Broco.
E os outros movimentos. Eu gostaria de saber como que foi balancear esses movimentos com algo que você disse para mim, né, uma vez que não faz tão bem, que é o remo. Como é que foi isso para você, essa prova 5?
Cara, a gente montou uma estratégia de remo para que a frequência não subisse tanto e não prejudicasse. O handstand para mim não é problema e o legless também não, só que é um volume muito alto de legless, não, muito alto não, mas alto, e a corda estava muito alta. Então, tinha que ser uma estratégia muito bem pensada para que não travasse. E foi exatamente isso que eu fiz. Eu remei numa intensidade menor, né? Então, um pace mais alto.
Back to Victoria Campos, who had that great performance in event number 5. She is within striking distance, but she will have to have a similar performance in event 6 that she had in event 5, and she's going to need to get some help to get into the top 2.
Right. You know, when Nievas retook that 2nd qualifying spot from Campos, like we heard Tommy say, it was by 50 points. But by Campos winning that last event, she cut that deficit in half. But that was not just winning the event, it was Nievas doing poorly in the event. So that's the exact thing she would need again. And again, you never want to just be reliant on yourself doing well and somebody else doing poorly in an event. But it is doable.
Yeah, that's all for our coverage for Event 5 for the individuals at the Brazil CrossFit Championship. And be sure to keep checking in on the CrossFit Games YouTube channel and on the CrossFit Games Facebook page for all our virtual semifinal coverage of the other 2 semifinal events that are taking place this weekend, the CrossFit German Throwdown and the CrossFit Lowlands Throwdown. For Annie Sakamoto, I'm Sean Woodland. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to keep it right here for all the latest on the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games semifinals.